I can hear you.
Can you hear me though?
Mm-hmm. You're fine.
Okay, let's just start from here then. Let's see. Okay, so my question was, who was the first? This connection is okay, but if it ends up being, we'll have to restart. So, so who is your number one, Serena Ray?
Oh, this is so hard. I want to go with Tiana, but guys, I love Mulan too.
Just go with your favorite. You're number one. You're number one. It's okay.
I'm heartbroken, guys. I don't know, but that's the thing. I don't know. It's a tie. So right now, I'm gonna go with the newer princess. I'm gonna go with Tiana. And that's what we're just gonna say. We're just gonna go with Tiana. I'm already dressed up as Tiana on on our picture, so it's like it's only right at this point to just go with Tiana.
But that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you have to like them. It's just like that, or that doesn't mean it has to be your favorite. It's just somebody that you like in the lineup.
We're just gonna go with her. Okay. I'm gonna say I can relate more.
Awesome. I'm seeing all of your guys' princess choices. Totally awesome. I love seeing them. My top 5, I think, would have to be, if you guys couldn't already tell, Belle is definitely in there. I would say in the official lineup, Pocahontas is in there for sure. I would say Tiana. I would say Moana. And I would say, see, it's like the unofficial list. I would have Elsa in there. But let's say, I don't know. I'm going to keep it at 4 because honestly, I don't feel like a real big pull to anyone else. So I'm gonna leave it at that 4.
Wow. I mean, no one else?
No, it's like I like everyone, but no one really captures my attention or my eye. Like I'm not super drawn or connected, if that makes sense. Okay. Like each one of those princesses has something that really draws me to them and I find really important. Something like they embody something that I want to carry on in my life and I want to be like in my own life. And I know a lot of people love Rapunzel, but like I don't have like a strong pull to Rapunzel. I don't know why that. I don't know why that is. Like she's such a great character. She's so funny. She's so personable. She's so relatable, but I don't have like an instant pull to her. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's because I lagged on watching Tangled too, because it took me a while to get to Tangled. I'm sorry, everyone. Don't come after me.
Wow.
I know. It wasn't like one of those movies I watched right away, which I'm pretty like, usually I'm on top of that. As soon as a movie comes out from Disney or Pixar, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go see it. I wasn't necessarily like that with Tangled. Yeah. So I think I missed the hype part, if that makes sense.
I get it. I'm gonna let it be. It's okay.
I'm gonna let it marinate. I'll come back to you later. Okay. So how many of you guys are familiar with the official lineup? If you know exactly how many princesses are in there, you know who they are, press 1, press 2. If you're actually not sure, you thought you knew maybe, but now you're like, I don't really know who is official and who is not. So we want to know how much knowledge you guys have.
And Theme Park is already asking. He wants to know the official and unofficial list.
Yes. Okay, so I see a couple 1s. I see a 2.
And it's okay if you guys don't know the official list. No judgment.
I think a lot of people know the official list, but they don't know why.
Yeah.
Which is what we're going to get into today, is the why.
Ari, what's the 1.5?
1.5-ish. I kind of know, but not fully. Okay. Honestly, this is like way more fun when you guys don't really know versus like when you guys are like, I already know that. So the official Disney princess list is as followed. Snow White. I wrote them down so I didn't miss anyone. Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Ariel, Belle, Pocahontas, Jasmine, Mulan, Tiana, Rapunzel, Merida, and Moana. So those are the official 12 princesses. So anyone else is not a part of this list, which comes as a really big shock to a lot of people. Continuously on my videos that I talk about the Disney princess criteria, they're always like, why not Anna and Elsa? Or why not so-and-so? Okay, so in order to be an official Disney princess, and actually Serena Ray read a whole entire book on this. I've just learned through researching and bits and pieces. But in order to be an official Disney princesses, I like to say that there basically are 2 tiers you have to go through, 2 different sets of criteria. So the first criteria is, are you royal by birth? Are you royal by marriage? Or did you perform a significant act of heroism? Okay, so those are the first level that you got to get through in order to be considered a Disney princess. So for instance, Snow White, she's royalty by birth. Cinderella, she's royalty by birth. Or no, I'm sorry, royalty by marriage. Sleeping Beauty, royalty by birth. Ariel, royalty by birth. Belle, royalty by marriage. Pocahontas, royalty by birth. Jasmine, royalty by birth. Mulan, significant act of heroism. She is not a Disney princess. Tiana, royalty by marriage, correct? Royalty by marriage. Rapunzel, royalty by birth. Merida, royalty by birth. And Moana, royalty by birth. Okay? So you can see that clearly there was like a small little section cut out specifically so that Mulan could be included, the significant act of heroism. So a lot of people get up in arms about that and like, well, she's not a princess, so why is she in there? I made a whole entire video on it. It's like, I called it the Mulan controversy. But according to Disney's rules, it's called the Disney mythology. According to that, she is a princess and she qualifies. Is there anything you want to add to that, Serena Ray?
No, I completely agree. I like what Princess Case just said. She said, I think it's because people associate female lead characters as princesses. Yes, I have to agree. They really do. Like every time they see Disney and then it's a female lead, oh, she's a princess. Yes. She doesn't have to like be by marriage, birth, anything else. They just assume. And we'll talk about that like a little bit like later on. Some of the things that the people others think are actual princesses and it's just not.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is that if there's ever a Disney heroine in a movie, they automatically assume that she's got to be a Disney princess. Or at least that she has to be in the official lineup. And it's so complicated. It's so much more complicated. So we're going to kind of get into the second part. So remember what I told you guys, there's a first part. And once you've like basically solidified or you've passed, if you will, the first part, you go into a second round. Okay. Now these rules are kind of wonky. Is probably maybe the best way to like, how would you, they're just kind of weird, right? Serena Ray, like they don't really make sense, but they're there. And these are more of like the unspoken criteria that people don't really know. Okay. So the first thing is you have to be human or human-like. Okay. So they put human-like in there because technically Ariel is a mermaid. She does become a human, but she was like half fish at some point, So it's human or human-like. The second part is that you have to be a main role or a primary role in the movie. So they either, the movie has to center around them or they're, a pivotal part to that story. The third is that they cannot be introduced in a sequel. So Serena Ray brought up a really good one yesterday, and we're just going to throw it out there so we don't have to touch it again. Melody, who, for those of you who have seen The Little Mermaid 2, Melody is Eric and Ariel's daughter. She is a princess. She is royal, but she was introduced in a sequel. So she's not considered an official Disney princess. Okay. And then the fourth one, which is the fun one, is that the movie that they're in cannot overperform at the box office, nor can it perform poorly at the box office. Okay. So that's where we get into the area of, I think, should we just go right into Elsa and Anna? Because that's probably one of the best examples.
Yeah, we can just like jump right in to why
Okay.
Elsa and Anna is not on the official list.
Yes. So Elsa and Anna, if you guys don't know, their movies crushed the box office, crushed it. The first movie made like 1.3 billion. The second one made like 1.5 billion. So what Disney noticed was that they didn't need the other princesses in order to remain relevant to sell merchandise. They could stand on their own and they'd be completely fine. And they obviously saw that through ticket sales, popularity, the buzz around Elsa and Anna. So they made Elsa and Anna, basically Frozen, its own franchise. And you'll see that when you go to, for instance, Target. Target had, like, I remember when Frozen 2 came out, a whole entire section just for Frozen 2. And it was all like, you know, Anna and Elsa's costume, Olaf, like all of that. It was all just dedicated specifically to that. So they have their own franchise and they're doing fine and they're, you know, their own thing. They're not even considered in the same realm or area as the other Disney princesses. Is there anything you want to add, Serena Ray, in terms of Elsa and Anna?
They just did too well. I know a lot of people, I see people in the chat saying, where was it? Oh my goodness. Someone just made a good point. Oh, someone said the last one is a dumb rule, saying like if they perform too high or if they perform too low.
Yeah.
So majority of the princesses that are grouped together performed around the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you already know like they can study that audience basically.
Yeah.
People who are obsessed with the movie Frozen because it did extremely well, you're not really gonna care like about having the other princesses on your shirt. Like you want just Frozen. That's it. Like if I go to the store, I don't want to. I'm sorry, I don't want to see Rapunzel or Jasmine or anyone else near Anna or Elsa. Like when little girls are buying the toys and the dolls, they want those characters so they can recreate whatever like fun memory they had from it. And that's really just how it goes. So
yeah,
it does like, yeah, it sounds like terrible to say, but I understand why they did it. And like the second like layer of the rules are strictly for like mainly products.
Yeah.
That's just really how it is. For
That's
them
actually products. That's a really good point. It kind of looks like they just carved it out maybe for merchandise reasonings. Yeah, because again, so why they did this to get to that point, why did they come up with this Disney princess mythology? What was the reasoning? It was in the 90s, actually. So not that long ago. In the 90s, they went, how can we still make, for instance, Belle, Jasmine, Ariel, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White? How do we still make these characters relevant in a time where, you know what I mean? Those aren't the movies coming out right now. Those aren't the hot tickets right now. Frozen's the hot ticket. Moana's the hot ticket. Those are the ones coming out right now. And so I don't really know what to call them. I guess maybe we just stick with Disney creators. The Disney creators decided in the 90s, we're going to group these princesses together so that way we can sell them all together and we can kind of popularize all these different characters. So you'll notice like on lunch boxes or shirts or what's another good one? Backpacks. You'll see all of the princesses together. And that's not to say that the princesses can't stand on their own either, because like I would argue Ariel could easily stand on her own. And she does. She has her own, you know, merchandise. We're not saying that there isn't specific merchandise. Like clearly, if you go to the Disney parks, you will see little girls running around in specific dresses. You know, they're not running around in a mashup of like Belle on top and like, you know, Cinderella on the bottom. It's like they can stand on their own, but they realized, I think in the 90s specifically, that there maybe was like a low point in which there was interest in certain princesses. And so they were like, let's just clump them all together and then we can make it really profitable.
Yeah.
I think.
And I think too, by them grouping all the princesses together, once you buy a child like that lunch pail, then you're more than likely going to have them watch that movie. then the other movie, and then the other movie, because they're going to be curious, like, oh, I love Ariel, but who is this princess? So you're more likely to have them venture off into seeing the other characters, watching the other movies. Then they fall in love with those characters as well, and then you'll end up buying, let's say, your daughter. You'll buy your daughter another costume. So one minute she loves Ariel, then she watches Beauty and the Beast. Now she wants to be Belle. Then, oh my goodness, mom, who is this? Rapunzel. Then she goes and buys the Rapunzel dress. Then it goes on and on and on. So it's mainly that second part is strictly marketing, for sure. But it sucks not seeing your favorite princesses on the official list. But when you start watching Frozen 2, though, guys, you got to remember, Elsa and Anna, I love that they transcended them into queens and they did not stay as princesses. So that was good too. So they weren't just always going to be like, oh, Princess Anna, or because they weren't official. So they either had to make them a queen or make them into another role. So people didn't have to keep asking that question of why are they not in the official list.
Which they still ask anyway. But
I know. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like official, like that's what if you guys didn't know, I'm on TikTok and you don't need to follow me if you already follow me here, because I basically just, put all my videos up there. And I posted the one about the princess criteria, and I kept getting in the comments, why isn't Elsa and Anna? Why isn't Elsa and Anna? And I'm like, because if you want to get technical about it, they are queens. If you want to get technical, if you really want to get technical, they are queens. So they are not a part of this. But some people don't even realize that. They've like watched both movies and they don't even realize that they're queens. So it's like, I'm just going to treat them as their princesses. And this is why they're excluded. So how many of you in the chat knew about that secret criteria? Press 1 if you already knew about those. Or 2 if you've never heard of that ever before. Just curious how many of you knew that. Because maybe you were like, you weren't sure at first, and now that we've explained it, you're like, oh yeah, no, I've heard of that. Totally.
Oh, and I can show you guys the book I read too. It was actually really interesting to read about the Disney legend who sat down and created the criteria.
Yeah, why don't you talk about her a little bit? What you remember.
Let's get the book.
Let's get the book for sure.
Because it was really cool. It has pictures in it for my people who need some pictures. I need visuals too. So I'm not judging.
Yeah. Alexa, I had no idea about the box office criteria. Yeah, the box office criteria.
Forgot I had picture frames.
I also love that she has a Halloween poster in the back.
Where's my book?
One, because I had to look up why Leia isn't officially a Disney princess. Yeah, we're going to actually talk about Princess Leia. She's one of the ones that we wanted to talk about. Because
we were talking about this in my stream, guys. I know I was talking about this, but my Disney dollars.
Oh, those are so cute. Those are cute.
I know some of you guys are talking about you still have your Disney dollars, and I felt like I should just show you before I forget. This is still official currency of Walt Disney World.
So cute. I love that.
Okay, this is actually a really good read. So, Beyond the Cast.
Wow.
So I do recommend it as a read if you just want to learn about Jodie. She worked 30 years at the park.
Wow, that's a long time.
It was really amazing to read her story, how she helped create this criteria. So that's why I know someone mentioned Tinkerbell. She was the one who they all sat down in the meetings, and they sat down and they wanted to know, like, what makes a Disney princess a Disney princess. So they separated all of them, and she talked about, how they kept getting questions and how they were thinking about how should we do the merchandise? How are all these characters going to look together? Like they really sat down to think about a lot of things that we don't necessarily think about.
Yeah.
I know sometimes we want our favorite cult classics, but this book does have some pictures from her time at Disney, working with Mickey.
Yeah. Did Serena Ray, does she mention anything in there, or maybe this was just something I read on the internet, in terms of like the Disney princesses, let's say they're on a t-shirt together. Does it mention anywhere, because this is the part I found interesting, was that the princesses will never be looking at each other.
I think she touches on it. I don't remember.
Okay.
But she did talk about their placement of them. So it's more than likely in there. I can't remember that part
Yeah.
though. Because she does,
which is interesting. Yeah, which
stuff.
is interesting, guys, because I mean, you can correct us if we're wrong. Maybe you've seen differently, but Serena Ray and I were talking about when you go to the Disney parks, you will find Disney princesses in the same area. For instance, in Disneyland, we call it Fantasy Fair. That's where we have usually like 3 or 4 princesses in the same space, but they never interact with each other. And the reason is to keep the magic of their fairy tale alive. And what I mean by that is in their story, I mean, Cinderella doesn't just randomly run into Ariel. You know, that just doesn't happen in her story. So they will never be exchanging with each other. They're never going to go out of their way to like, you know, have little moments where like Mickey and Minnie in the parks, you know, they'll have fun with each other if they see each other, or Goofy will clown around with Mickey. That's because they're in the same story. But because these Disney princesses are separate stories, they want to keep that as much as possible. And then that translates into the merchandise. So you'll notice on Disney backpacks or shirts or, you know, sippy cups, I don't know, you name it, the princesses will be looking forward. They won't be looking at each other. And I say this, I'm going to make this point, Disney products. I can't speak for the, you know, the Etsy, you know, things, or what's another website that people sell. I can't speak for those. But for Disney products, they won't be looking at each other. They'll be looking straight forward. It's because, yes, they are grouped together, but they don't want you to think that they live in like the same universe, if that makes sense. The only time I think the Disney princesses came together was for Wreck-It Ralph. And that was weird. Like, I actually don't really understand. I love that they did that. Don't get me wrong. I actually get a kick out of all of the princesses being together. That's like, the little girl in me goes crazy. I'm like, oh my God, all the princesses are together and they're hanging out. And like the little girl in me loves it. But I don't understand why they went ahead and did that, knowing very well that they were so strategic about keeping them separate yet together.
I think though, this is my reason why I think so. Because I know people always ask for them wanting the princess to be together. And I thought that was like the perfect opportunity since they're on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Everything on the internet was intertwined. They were connecting, they were mingling, and I think that made the perfect reason to include all these princesses for them all to interact with each other and get a good little like cute laugh.
Yeah.
And theme park. he said what I said yesterday. They're all on the float in Magic Kingdom, the princesses,
but
they don't interact with each other. Remember,
don't.
They're all waving. I said the same thing. And I was telling Disney Daily, I was like, they never, because when she was explaining, like, yeah, they don't interact with each other. On the float, they don't interact with each other. They're all waving. They kind of look past each other. Mm-hmm. They interact with the people in the crowds, but they don't acknowledge each other, like having a conversation. Like,
yeah, they might have to like, they might have to look the other way because they want to try and, you know, engage with the crowd on the other side, but they're not looking at each other and being like, they might, you know what I mean? They might accidentally look at each other, but I'm sure that their guidelines. I mean, I worked in entertainment, and I don't remember that ever being like specific, but again, I wasn't a Disney princess, so I don't know what they were told specifically. But I'm sure it was something along the lines of like, look, even though you guys are riding together on this float, you guys are still very separate fairy tales. And we want to make sure we keep that magic. Jerry says it's like high school. What is high school?
Jerry.
Oh, Jerry, you're too funny. Oh my goodness. Also, like, I'm super happy. I saw somebody say that this is the most active chat they've ever seen. And honestly, I am so happy that we have such an active chat and such an active community. You guys are awesome. And you are just awesome. That's all it is. So we should probably move along to the unofficial Disney princess list and go through. And we wrote them down yesterday because there actually is a lot. Yeah. We're gonna, if we don't mention someone, we don't think they were really, like, it's self-explanatory, basically. Like, we don't need to touch on why they're not a part of it. So you guys in the chat, write down your favorite unofficial princess. So somebody that's not a part of that list, but you've always loved and you've like never understood why weren't they part of it. We want to know, who is your favorite. I will say one of my favorites is Esmeralda, and we're going to talk about Esmeralda. We're going to get to her. We're going to talk about why she's not there. Okay. But tell me in the chat, who is your favorite unofficial? Serena Ray, who is your favorite unofficial?
It's Anna and Elsa.
Oh yeah, that's my other. Yeah, definitely.
I'm obsessed with Anna and Elsa. Okay.
Oh,
Meg too.
Meg.
Yes,
Meg. We're gonna talk about Meg. Don't worry, we got it. Vanellope, it's my girl. Sally, she's not a princess at all, though. No, I love Sally's one of my top 5 Disney princesses. I mean, Disney characters, but yeah, she's not even anywhere in the ballpark. So we're not even gonna probably talk about her because I think you all can figure out why she's not a part of it.
Oh wow,
cool. Charles. Elena, I love Elena. Oh, she does not get enough attention.
No, she doesn't.
I love Elena. They don't never talk about Elena. Okay, let's start with Princess Kita. So Princess Kita is one of my favorite, also in the unofficial list. She's in my top 5. Princess Kita is a princess. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. She is the princess of Atlantis. She becomes the queen of Atlantis. I guess you can maybe argue, same argument as Elsa and Anna, that she's a queen now, so that's why. But no, everyone that I've ever met that is serious about Disney princesses goes, it is an injustice that Kita is not a part of this list. And I'm like, yes, because at the end of the day, she hits everything. You know, and not to mention, not only is she royalty by birth, but she performs a significant act of heroism. You know, I don't really think it was her choice necessarily to be absorbed by the crystal, but Homegirl's body went straight into the crystal to protect Atlantis, you know? But so the reason, and Serena Ray is going to have her own opinion, but she might also agree with me. The reason that Kita isn't part of it, and this is what I've discovered time and time again, is that the movie did not perform well at the box office. And that is sadly true. Now, we know Atlantis now to be this, like, has this cult following where, you know, it's like a Goofy movie. There are die-hard Goofy movie people. Yes. But unfortunately, at the time that Atlantis was released, as great of a movie as it is, because it is a fabulous movie. It is my top 5. I'm saying everything's my top 5, but I swear it is in my top 5. That is the reason why Kita isn't included, is simply because of the fact that the movie did not perform well. Serena Ray, is there anything you want to add to that?
That's the main reason that I can think of, just because it didn't meet their standards at the time.
Yeah.
And it's probably, I don't know, would you say it's the promotion of it?
Yeah,
I don't even think they did a good job promoting it, because when I think back about the movie, I'm like, oh yeah, that movie. Like, you don't think, you know, like, you can remember promotions for like Frozen or Moana. You can remember those things, like the trailers and everything for these really popular movies. And I think they dropped the ball.
I think I think it was at a time where they were being really experimental and they weren't sure how these were gonna hit, so they didn't want to do too much. They didn't want to put in too much money, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Ryan, I just wanted to like touch on this. He said, you think they would ever have non-human female leads become princesses? I personally don't, because I think it's going to get into a whole muddy area, like where I think they tried to, the reason I think they did this besides merchandise is to make it as clean as possible, as clean cut as possible. And I think by adding animals, I think that adds too many layers. So maybe they, at some point, you know, will add maybe all of the animals together in their own type of lineup. I could see that happening, but I don't think they'll ever be a part of the Disney princess lineup. What do you think, Serena Ray?
I don't think so. And I want to say mainly because you're more likely to relate to a human opposed to an animal character.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, for me, I relate a lot to Judy Hopps, but you have to remember, I'm a grown up. A child is not going to say, I want to be a bunny cop. They're less likely to say that, and they're going to say, like, okay, like, they're not thinking from it from a deep perspective. So they have to create human princesses because that's what they first see. Like, if you're 5 or 6 and you're like, I want to be like her, like, you can see someone walking down the street. I remember when I was younger, like, I would see a businesswoman and, like, this one lady, she had, like, long gray hair and she had on a nice suit and she was walking. And I was like, she's so pretty. Like, I want to be like that when I grow up. Because I related back to her. Because she visually looked like me. She was a human. I don't think any of us would say, I want to look like this cat that's, like, sitting outside. So I think that's why, like, we will never see a non-human female princess.
I think you made it. I think you made an excellent point, though. If you're talking about it from a perspective of a child, they're not deep thinking like that, where they're like, oh yeah, I could be like Judy Hopps. They don't think like that. They're just like, oh, cute bunny, probably, and, like, you know, they're gonna want a stuffed animal, you know, but they're not seeing themselves potentially in that. So I think that was a really great point. Whereas, like, obviously us as adults watching those movies, we can see ourselves in no matter what the character is. Charisse, I love it. Can I just say I had to put that on the screen and I wanted to acknowledge it. Should I watch Atlantis again after this dream? Yes. Okay. Honestly, you can never go wrong with it. It is such a great movie.
This should be a movie night. Watching like some of the cult, you know, movies like Treasure Planet, Atlantis. It's a whole bunch of movies that are amazing.
Do that. We should do that together. We should do that together. I think it'd be fun. Okay, so we did Kita. We have talked. I think we could briefly say, I'm crossing them off so I can make sure I keep track. I think we can all come to some sort of conclusion that Nala, from what we just said, isn't included because of the fact that she is an animal, unfortunately. Nala is a princess. Well, Nala's a queen at the end of the movie, but she is not included simply because she is an animal. So the next person we want to talk about is Megara. And Megara, she was one of my favorites too. Okay, hold on. Serena Ray, you need to talk for a second about Megara and why you think she's not part of it. And I'm going to pull up a picture of little me as Megara, and you guys are going to get a kick out of it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I think she's not a part of it. Well, we know why she's not a part of it. She's not born, like, from royalty, and she also did not marry royalty, because Hercules did not become a king or anything in the movie. I'm trying to think what else. Let me see. What else can we check?
Elaborate on that point, because I think people get confused about it in terms of, like, wait, but Hercules, the king of the gods. Like, I elaborate on that.
He didn't become king of the gods, though. Didn't he just go back and live on Earth with her?
No, he chose to live on Earth, and I think people forget that. They just are like, well, Zeus is the king of the gods, so therefore Hercules is the next king of the gods. And it's like, but that's not what happens at the end of the movie. He chooses to go to Earth, and he loses power other than his strength. I'm sure he keeps his strength, but other than that, he goes back to the way he was.
And Jerry, wow. Anyways, Jerry said some could argue a demigod is better than a king.
Well, yeah, but that still wouldn't, even if that was the case, it wouldn't. Jerry, this is what I mean. You're a troublemaker.
This is why we can't take you places, Jerry. That's why we can't take you places.
Jerry is stirring the pot.
But the thing is, he's not an official king.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she's not a princess. That's why she did not become a princess. And yes, Wizard 608. Hercules is more popular than her, but she is also in the movie. She
Yeah.
has a significant part in the movie. So she,
Yeah.
even though he's more popular than her, she could have still became a princess if she married him and he like became the king. But
Yes.
he
Again,
decided to
that's part of the criteria, is that you can be a lead or a primary role. And so just because she isn't the lead and the movie's not named after her, she is a primary role in the movie. I mean, arguably she's on screen just as much as
yeah.
him. So that is the reason for Meg. And my photo's not coming through. I'm so sad. I wanted to show. Oh, wait. It came through. Uh-oh.
And that's true, DJ Ducky.
Okay.
There were other kids in line as well. So that didn't necessarily mean he was going to be next to the throne.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take all those things into consideration.
Okay. I'm sharing this with you guys. So that is little me as Megara.
Aww.
This is little Disney Daily as Megara. You can see the full sass in full swing.
I love how you're so adorable and you have all these scary like things in the back.
Oh, I'm a weirdo. No, my parents will tell me I was never afraid of the dark. Like, what kid do you know that wasn't afraid of the dark? I was never afraid of the dark. I love scary movies. I used to watch Aliens with like my dad. I was a weird kid, but I have
like that's why we get along.
Yeah, but I have like so many. I dressed up like who's the other ones that I have? I have Mulan. I have Esmeralda. So maybe I'll have to bring up my Esmeralda one too. But yeah, this is little me dressed with the sass, the hand, the whole action going on. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Jill, welcome. What a time to come in for sure.
But I am like not over, like, do you guys see this little monster on the ground? Like his eyes is like this and she's just like posing.
Yeah.
She's just like posing. Not phased whatsoever.
Not phased.
And I love it.
Yeah. Anyway. Like moving right along. There's that. Okay. So I think we kind of touched on Meg. I think for the most part, you guys understand why she's not a part of it. Does it make 100% sense? No. Do we really agree with it? No. I think Serena Ray and I would both like to see Meg part of it, but unfortunately that's not what we got. So the next one that gets asked about a lot is Tinkerbell. And Tinkerbell is one of these rarities because Tinkerbell was actually part of the official lineup for years. She was part of it. And then in 2005, Tinkerbell was taken out of the lineup, basically just to give her own spin-off. I think Disney saw that there was an opportunity to make more money. I think there was also an opportunity to reintroduce a whole new generation of kids to Peter Pan. You know what I mean? And also give Tinkerbell a better, put her in a better light, because she's not really like, at least when I was little, I was like, Tinkerbell's so mean. And then now I'm older and I'm like, I get Tinkerbell sass. Like, she's just over it. You know, like, she should be a real. But I think a lot of little kids, when you first see it, it's like, oh, Tinkerbell's mean. So it gave another layer to Tinkerbell. But it was all basically, it just comes down to they saw an opportunity to really drive home like fairies and a fairy franchise. And that's what happened. What do you think, Serena Ray?
They touched on that in the book too. They started to they ended up taking another reason. That was Disney Daily's reason is the right reason.
Okay.
They also added another reason because people kept asking for other people who were not royalty or any of the first criteria, like not born into royalty. They didn't do anything amazing. They didn't marry. And they kept wanting to add more characters. And we'll touch on like a few who have nothing to do with being a princess. But again, Princess K mentioned, every time someone saw a female lead, they assumed it was a Disney princess. Yeah. So that's why they made a second layer to the criteria, because they were tired of people wanting them to start putting merchandise. Tinkerbell, and Jody touched on it, like, how would Tinkerbell look with the other princesses in the dress. She would look so out of place being a fairy. She has her wings, and then she's next to the other princesses on all this merchandise that have on ball gowns. So they took those reasons into consideration. I also think Tinkerbell does great on her own. She does really well, and she was able to talk in the news, like in her new movies. She talks. She's not like just acting things out. And it was nice too because she can talk now because she's around other fairies. Because she was around humans, she couldn't talk. No one knew what she was saying, and I just feel like Tinkerbell. That's how we're gonna end. I'm like Tinkerbell when she doesn't get enough attention. I want to like pass out. That's me. So that's it. That's my reasoning.
Yeah. No, everything you said is totally right. Yeah. It's Tinkerbell. I think it's interesting what you said in terms of like she didn't talk before, and that was probably because she was around a bunch of humans, but then put her, in Pixie Hollow with all of her fairies, and now we understand her. I think this also gives her, again, more depth because before you just saw her as like the mean girl.
And you see her making stuff in her little
tinkering. Yeah,
like she's doing what her name is, and it's so cute to see her.
Yeah. And I think that's actually really great that they did that because no one understood. I don't think anyone really understood the Tinkerbell name. Like they were like, what is that? They're like twinkly lights. But I love that they kind of built on her story. Like her name had a bigger meaning.
Yeah.
Which is really cool to see. And I mean, if you guys haven't watched the fairy spinoffs, they're really good. I mean, they're super cute, definitely made for kids, not really like, adult kind of humor like we know certain movies to have. But they're super cute, and it really expands on Tinkerbell, and all of the fairies are all great additions. So yeah, that's our little plug for watching all the Tinkerbell stuff. But I think that makes sense. I think that's fair. I think we can move along. So we're going to talk about Esmeralda is the next one. Esmeralda is one of my favorites. And Hunchback of Notre Dame is actually one of my favorite movies as well. I think it's a weird movie. Don't get me wrong. But again, I told you guys I was a weirdo. So it makes sense that would be a movie that I was drawn to. I just really enjoy the music of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And so anyways, Esmeralda was also part of the Disney lineup at one point. Her and Tinkerbell were original members, and Esmeralda was taken out. I think this is from my own interpretation. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I think the reason she was taken out specifically was what Serena Ray had mentioned about how people started, like fans started to come forward and be like, well, if Esmeralda's part of it and she's not a princess, then why is it da 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 da? And then it just, the list could keep going and going and going. So I think it was the reason they took her out was to take that whole conversation out of it, which didn't really happen because we still have the conversation today, but just take her out because of the fact that she isn't a princess. And we're now getting into a place where we don't want to be. We want to make sure that these are all official Disney princesses, which is unfortunate because I love Esmeralda. It's really unfortunate that she's like all by herself now. And I don't even think she gets any attention or love. She's another one that I just feel like falls by the wayside.
The merchandise for her is just so little.
Yeah, I actually have never seen any merchandise for her. Like
I recently seen a pin. It was her. It was like literally one pin. It was, I think it's called Dream Under the Stars or something like that. It's a limited edition pin. So for the movies that, like those movies that wasn't the biggest movies, movies that, kids don't really know about. Today's kids don't really know about. You don't see merchandise for that, like at all. So I don't know if the reason for her not having that much merchandise is probably because they can't relate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, at least if she was part of the lineup, she would have been exposed, you know what I mean? More to kids. But because she's removed now, it's like, how many kids are going to throw on Hunchback of Notre Dame? Unless they're me as a parent. And I'm like, you're going to watch this movie because it was one of my favorites and you're going to like it. Princess K said, another one of my faves that got the short end of the stick. Disney can fight me on this one. Yeah, I'm totally of the same mind. Like, I understand why they did it, but I also am like, yeah, but she deserves more love. And because they did this, again, she's been like neglected, unfortunately. So how many of you in the chat have seen Hunchback of Notre Dame? 1, if you've seen it, and 2, if you've never seen it in your life and you don't plan to.
Oh my goodness. We can add this to the list of movies we got to watch, guys.
Yeah.
Because, oh my goodness. And I do agree. I think, too, the storyline was too complicated or mature for kids.
We got a lot of ones. So everybody's seen Hunchback. Yay! I'm super excited. Ari said the unofficial princesses should be deemed as Disney heroines. I think they should get their own category. I totally agree with that. I think it would give them all, again, like another chance for kids to be reintroduced to these movies. Because there's so many great characters and they're so different from each other, and they all have, good parts of them, and then they have not so great parts. I think it's important to see all of that. That's Esmeralda. Let's touch on Alice, because Serena Ray did bring up Alice yesterday. So Serena Ray can kick off Alice. Why do you think Alice is, or why were people even asking about Alice? I think
people would always come into where I work and ask me about Alice in Wonderland. I don't know why they always just ask me, because I never got that idea. And it's funny because that's also funny. Mentioned in the book, Jody would say people would always ask her, what about Alice in Wonderland? And I'm just like, she's not royalty. She wasn't married to anyone in royalty. And she really doesn't, what does she do that saves anyone or noteworthy?
Yeah, she doesn't really have a significant active hero. Not enough to where you're saving China. I think that's quite untouchable.
So, I don't understand. It goes back to, because she was a female lead, she had her own movie, and people liked her. People assume she was a Disney princess, and they always she literally just got lost. That's what Ari said. Look, she didn't do a thing. And don't get me wrong, I like the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. I like him more than I like her. Mm-hmm. I just didn't get why people wanted her to be a princess. I don't know if anyone in the chat wanted her to be a princess. I'm sorry if you guys wanted her to be a princess. But I do believe her movies stand alone. Yeah. Because they did other things with Alice in Wonderland, and people love the Cheshire Cat. People love the Mad Hatter. Mm-hmm. And they have merchandise for her, and she's able to stand alone, which is very fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, I'm sorry, she's not a princess. I love that the teacup ride is modeled after her. She even has her little ride. So
yeah, she's an iconic character. I don't think Serena Ray and I are arguing against that. She's very iconic. Jill, my girl Alice, I'm biased because I played her before in my school plays. She's definitely not a princess, just a cool character. Totally agree. She's a really cool character. I don't think she needs to be in the lineup, but partially I think she doesn't need to be in the lineup because, like Serena Ray said, is she can stand on her own. She's completely fine. They have pushed her enough, I think, and the rides, like you said, I don't know how many are in Walt Disney World, but there are 2 Alice in Wonderland rides in Disneyland. In Fantasyland, in Fantasyland in particular. So I think she gets enough exposure to kids. Whereas, again, Esmeralda doesn't get, where do you find Esmeralda in the parks? She comes out once a year, I think, and that was for special events or whatever. But other than that,
at Walt Disney World. She comes out during during DVC parties, I think.
Okay.
DVC is Disney Vacation Club, in case you guys are wondering. He's in the short. So yeah, she comes out for those special small nights, or probably a Disney after hours that's super special, or a night. Yeah. But you don't see her. You don't see her in the parks at all, and it's sad.
Yeah. So yeah, well, that's Alice. That's why we just want to touch, because it's another area where people are a bit confused. Why isn't Alice in Wonderland part of it? Now, these next ones are pretty big ones. And we're going to have some fun talking about it. We definitely want to hear from the chat and see what you guys think. The next one is Anastasia. Now, Anastasia is, again, I'm like in my top 5. But Anastasia is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can quote probably the whole entire movie from beginning to end. I love all of the characters. I thought Dimitri was like bomb.com. Woo! Woo! The hair, the everything. I was like, oh, Dimitri. The music, the soundtrack. Oh my gosh, great. Okay, but I made a video on this. Is Anastasia now an official Disney princess? Because as most of you probably know, Disney bought Fox, and so they got the rights to all of these different movies, including Anastasia. And just for some context, Anastasia for years has been mistaken as a Disney movie. I did it even when I was young. I was like, 7 or whatever, and I thought Anastasia was part of Disney. And I remember even being like, why isn't Anastasia here? Like, why can't I find dolls or anything? Because she wasn't a part of it. And so the question lingers, is she going to be a part of the Disney lineup because of the fact that she is a princess? And maybe Serena Ray is going to differ on this. I don't think she's going to be a part of the Disney lineup. I think she's very capable of standing on her own. I don't think she needs to be clumped in with a bunch of Disney princesses. The second reason is not just that, but because she wasn't released initially under Disney, I think it gets into some weird areas that I don't think Disney wants to get into, because they're about their numbers. As we've seen, they determine whether or not a princess should be part of it based on how they did at the box office. And the thing with Anastasia is that they can't determine that because it wasn't released by them. So I think it just gets into this really big gray area where I don't think Disney's going to want to enter. And I think that they know Anastasia can stand on her own. She doesn't need to be clumped in. But that's my opinion. I don't think she's going to become an official princess. But what do you think? And chat, what do you think as well? Do you think she should be part of it? Do you think she shouldn't? And then also give an explanation.
Yes, chat. We want to know. I don't think so. I'm just being honest on why I don't think so. I'm trying to picture her. First I'm trying to picture her next to the other princesses, which she could work.
She could work, but I think she would contrast. Honestly, I think she would butt heads too much with Belle, because they both have the beautiful yellow gown, and everyone knows Belle's yellow gown. I mean, come on, signature. And I think if they put her in her big yellow gown, I think that'd be clashing too much with
I don't even think her art style is the same. How is her art style?
I don't think it's the same.
And the fact too that I don't think they're gonna bring her into the princess lineup is for the simple fact she is with Century Fox, and they just purchased it. Yes, but she was never created for that princess universe. So why add her if she wasn't really created to mesh with them? They already have a criteria. Yes, she meets the standards, but she also will not mesh at all with them. And she doesn't even have, I want to say it's no other princesses with Century Fox that can at least kind of help her out in a way. And I just feel like that movie is just a classic, and it's just it wouldn't match. It wouldn't match with the other movies. Yes, people did think it was a Disney movie. I thought for a while it was a Disney movie, but when you think of it from all the things you know now and that we do know now, I'm highly sure they're not going to put her in the lineup.
Yeah. Do we want her in the lineup?
Yes,
I do.
But they're not going to do it. It's just, it would be too much.
We're talking from a realistic standpoint, because I feel of course we want her to. We don't want you guys to get the wrong impression that we're no, she can't come. We're the mean girls. You can't sit with us. She could sit with us. We're just being realistic. We don't think Disney's going to extend that and be yeah, Anastasia can be a part for all of the reasons we listed. I like what Wizard said. I think the only way for Anastasia to be a Disney princess is if Disney makes an entirely new Anastasia movie, newly animated with a new story and I guess a new look. I think that's possible. I think if they ran with it, huh?
I hope they don't.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't. But I think if they did that, I absolutely could see them.
Yeah, putting her there.
Putting her there. But also, I don't think they're going to remake the movie itself. So I guess they're going to probably, if anything, do a spin-off TV series, which you can't make her a Disney princess officially through a TV series.
And I think, too, they're not going to touch it just because it's not their stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they own it now, but this is like something that just adds money. Like, it's just something they purchased to add more money and still focus on the brand of Disney. Like, they're not really focused on that movie because it's not the main bread and butter. Century Fox is like, let's say, potato salad. Disney is the turkey.
Yeah.
Or the ribs at the dinner table. It's the meat. Like Anastasia, like that movie is like just a little small like worry. So I don't think they're gonna touch it. I don't think they're gonna Disney-fy her like Sharita. Yeah. I don't think they're gonna Disney-fy her. I think they're gonna allow it to be a classic, and they'll celebrate like the anniversaries and everything with some of these classic cult movies. But that's really about it. I don't think they're gonna touch it. I don't think they want to touch it. If they do want to recreate the movie, they might recreate it in live action. If anything else.
Yeah. Yes.
If anything else, I can see a live action.
I could see a live action.
That's it. I don't see them reanimating it. They're not.
I don't see them. Oh my gosh. I don't think they can. Because again, it's like that weird area where then they're touching. They got to try to. Well, I guess they would do a completely different animation style than the way Fox did it. And I don't like that. I don't know. Like, it's weird for people, I think. It's like, no touchy, no touch, you know? I like what, I'm not going to say the name right. So I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not going to try to hack that. Disney has plenty of princesses as is, to be honest. I mean, actually, that I'm reading it, I'm of the mind you can add as many princesses as you want. I can never get tired of Disney princesses, but there should be things in place. Not everyone can get in. I'm sorry. Not everyone can sit with us. So I think we talked about Anastasia. I think we're good. I think we can move along. Raya. Raya is our newest Disney princess. But is she official or is she not going to be official? I am of the mindset that I think Raya is going to be our 13th Disney princess. I say this because I've heard Kelly Marie Tran, the voice of Raya, talk multiple times about how she's so excited that she is the newest Disney princess. She's said it a couple times in her interviews. Obviously, she's not going to say something that isn't true. Or at least I don't think she is. I mean, I know that Disney has contracts with actors and actresses and, they can't do anything against that contract or it's a big deal. So I think she knows something. I think she was saying like, yeah, I'm going to be an official part of the lineup. She fits right in. I mean, not only is she, they randomly threw in the princess line, but she is a princess. So she's royalty by birth. And she performs a significant act of heroism. Now, somebody's going to come for me and maybe argue, Namari's the one, Sisu. I'm like, no, really, it was Raya. Raya's kind of the one that made the full circle. And I'm excited because I think Raya adds another flair. Because I think a lot of the Disney princesses, a lot of them are that classic traditional big ball gown. You know what I mean? Kind of girly. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love that too. But we need a couple more more action-oriented princesses. Like Mulan. Mulan was a huge, Mulan was actually still girly, but she was also like, let's get down to business, ta-ta-ta. And she really was a warrior princess, the definition of a warrior princess. So I think it's cool to have, I would argue Moana's a warrior princess as well. So it's kind of nice to have another one. What do you think?
Yeah. I think Raya's going to become a princess, though. She's, like, the movie didn't do, like, Frozen numbers, but it didn't tank. And I know a few people in the chat are saying, I'm waiting for it to become free. You don't want to pay for the premiere access. And I think that's where they can say, that's why, I mean, the actress can say, oh, I'm going to be the newest princess. Because I think it's in theaters. It is in theaters, but it's like not doing like, you're not hearing it doing like crazy numbers, which is good for adding a new Disney princess. And I love that the Disney princesses are getting so many new faces and you are learning so much about like different cultures as well.
Yeah.
So I really like it a lot. So I really do hope, fingers crossed, that they really do make her a Disney princess because it's really adding more.
And I hope that she is. I don't know. I don't know if she is. Like when I dissect it more, I don't know if she's going to be. Like, I know that we have Kelly Marie Tran's interviewed about that she probably is. I don't know if she's going to be, because the thing is Raya and the Last Dragon, unfortunately, was released in a very weird time. You know, you could technically go to the theaters, but then those numbers are not, I mean, her opening weekend was really not good. Compared to like a typical Disney release weekend. So you had that. And then you had also the option of people buying at home, which it's like, I don't know how many people really spent $30 to watch the movie at home. So then we get into an area where it's like, maybe she did really, really well. And they made like a lot of money, especially those buying from home, choosing to not go to the theaters. Maybe she did really, really well. And they think she can stand on her own.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I haven't heard
that's the other thing with
those numbers.
No, that's the thing. And that's the thing. Because when Mulan came out, the live action Mulan, that's what everyone was saying, was like, we don't know the numbers on how much that movie made from Disney Plus. And we still don't know. Like, I've looked into it and I don't know how much money was made there. So it's like with Raya, who knows? Maybe they blew it out of the water in terms of people purchasing on Disney Plus in combination with going to the theater. And perhaps she did just as well as Frozen, if not better. And then at that point, she could stand on her own. You know what I'm saying? And she would be her own franchise.
That could also be a possibility. I think that's crazy. Whenever their next fiscal year, they'll probably announce all the numbers for these Disney Plus movies.
When do they what?
Their next fiscal year, they'll probably announce like how much Mulan did, and then how much Raya did.
Maybe they'll look really. Yeah, I don't know. Ricky says, I hope Raya has her coronation ceremony at Disneyland when the coronavirus is over. Yeah, if she's a part of it, I really hope she gets a coronation ceremony. I like that they started doing that within the last however many years. They started with Tiana, I believe, but they didn't do one for Moana. So I don't know why Moana didn't get a coronation, but she was added to the website. So if you guys to go to DisneyPrincess.com, Moana is there. She is an official Disney princess, but she didn't get a coronation. So I don't know if they're going to do that for Raya. What does Ari say? So do princesses and other Disney franchise branches not get to be put in the tiers of a princess? They should get to be a secondary princess. It's like Anastasia is in a weird, like she's in her own little bubble right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope they re-release Raya in the theaters so that they can add more money to the box office numbers. Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's like we're in a weird time where, again, remember what I said, is they overperform or they don't perform well at the box office. And the box office is like not good right now for any movie, really, you know? So it's like that's where it's going to get weird. And I don't know if she will be official. I don't know if she'll be unofficial. I think that does it for Raya.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Princess Leia. So Princess Leia is one of those big ones, actually. Princess Leia and I would say Kida are kind of the ones that I always see pop up the most. Princess Leia is from a different franchise. And I think that's the main reason why she's not a part of it, is she's part of the Star Wars franchise. I think also another reason is that Princess Leia can stand on her own. Everybody knows Princess Leia. I mean, the iconic space buns. If you saw just a shadow, a silhouette of the space buns, you would know who it is. You know what I mean? Like, she's iconic. You know, she's up there with Minnie Mouse's bow. Like, it's an iconic thing that everyone around the world recognizes. I also think the reason Princess Leia isn't included is because she's a human. Whereas like the animated, there's wiggle room for people in the parks to dress up as them, because you know what I mean? Let's face it, it's animated. It really, like, you can go either way. And usually the excuse is like, well, that's the animated, you know, my animated tail, but this is what I look like in real life. You know, they can get away with that. Whereas you have Princess Leia, I mean, it was a very particular look. So to try and recreate that, I feel like is hard. And I know people will get on me on this because they're like, well, Rey is in the park. And I'm like, yes, Rey is in the park, but Rey is not a Disney princess. So it's kind of another area. But what do you think, Serena Rey?
But I agree. Everyone knows who Princess Leia is. She's iconic. It's no need for her to be with like cartoon characters, because do you really want to put her picture next to some cartoon characters?
Yeah, it's weird. They'd have to turn her into a cartoon.
And you have to take, like, exactly. You have to turn her into a cartoon.
Which she might be. I'm sorry. If there's Star Wars people in the chat, because I'm a casual Star Wars fan. I'm not like a diehard, Star Wars fans. I know there are like cartoon spin-off shows.
Yeah.
Is Princess Leia ever shown in any of those shows? Because if she is, then I can take that back. They made her animated, so.
But she doesn't have like a ball gown. And technically, well, wasn't she adopted?
Yeah, she was adopted.
Some can argue then. Wait, they're gonna fight me. They're gonna fight me. You guys are gonna fight me. Okay, then fight me then. She was adopted though. She wasn't of royal blood.
Okay, so it looks like she is in a cartoon form. So we can take that back. But I think the bulk of our argument still stands up that she is introduced to us as a human, and she is a part of a way larger franchise.
And she does overperform. Like Star Wars does numbers. So that's a no too of why she can't be a princess. And because it's a whole different, that's a whole different company. You gotta remember that too. It's like weird to think about. It's like people who keep asking about Anastasia. It's from Century Fox.
Yeah.
So you gotta scoot that over when you're thinking about, Star Wars before Disney purchased it.
Yeah.
She was already a human. Disney started to make the cartoons just recently. Like, it hasn't been like going on forever. So they just started making the cartoons too.
I don't know though. I think some of the cartoons have been around. Yeah. It's not just
I've never seen it.
I think I could be very, very wrong, but I'm pretty this is where I'm like, I'm sorry, my expertise only goes so far. My knowledge on topics only goes so far. But
let's put her in a musical. I could not picture her singing. This is the thing. Like, everyone, I had a joke. I was making a joke with someone. I think it was last week. I was like, all the princesses have that singing voice. Like, everyone, how they have the certain singing voice, and then it goes like so sad randomly at the end.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh, there's flowers, there's this, and they're all like super happy. Could you imagine Princess Leia singing like that?
I would die.
Like, I don't see it. Pixar does count. Yeah,
that's why Merida is in there.
Yeah, so you have her. Uh-oh, someone's asking about Vanellope. But I don't, the cartoons are like 6 years old now for Rebels. Otherwise, Leia is only in the live action. Okay, see,
oh my gosh, that's epic. Han and Leia singing Love is an Open Door. I would die. Love is an open door with you.
I can't picture I can't picture it. I don't want to picture it.
With her space buns. You just see it
picture
like you just see the bun peeking around the corner.
I can't. No.
Oh wow. Okay, so I think we maybe we didn't convince some of you guys, but Princess Leia, I think she's in her own because of the franchise that she was in previously. Obviously, Star Wars is like, I mean, one of probably the most well-known movies in the world, I would argue. So it just doesn't make sense for her to be included. She can stand on her own, like a very much like an Elsa and Anna thing. They can stand on their own. Let's go to, unfortunately, like I don't really want to touch on it, but people brought her up, Vanellope.
I know. We talked about Vanellope yesterday too, because I knew somebody was gonna ask about it.
Yeah.
I knew someone was gonna ask about it. Oh my goodness. I knew it.
So what do you think? Why do you think Vanellope is not included?
We talked about this, guys. Okay. Disney Daily and I were like looking on the internet, and the only reason that I could think of why Vanellope is not a Disney princess is because Vanellope said in Wreck-It Ralph, I am not a princess. I am the president. She did not want to be classified as a princess. She was not a damsel in distress, like any of those things. She wanted to be the president. She didn't want to wear the dress. You guys know when she zapped out of the dress, she's like, yeah, nah. Like, she wanted to be the president and like be diplomatic and do all those things. So that is the main reason why I believe Vanellope is not a Disney princess, because no other thing showed me anything else.
Yeah. That's the only thing I can really come to also. I mean, that's the only thing. She kind of says it herself. She's like, yeah, I'm not. And in that case, like, can we argue with that? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and I know Wizard 608, there's like a discrepancy with her age, because the actress says she's like 9, but then some of the producers age her at 12. Like, it's weird. It was like weird because some people, like, when you go through like the articles and the interviews, some people say she's 9, the actress. I always forget her name. And then they're considering her, the producers consider her to be like 12 to like 13 or something like that, but still making her younger than majority of, if not all, the princesses. Like, she would technically, I think, been the youngest one at 12. So it was weird.
Yeah, that's weird. Kind of a weird discrepancy there. But yeah, I think majority of people like DJ Ducky, I forgot about that part, makes sense. I think it makes the most sense. It can be maybe the only clear guideline that we have in order to understand why she's not a part of it. Otherwise, it's like, what do we have to go off of? I mean, yeah, I don't know. So we're going to kind of move along. I think that's it, unless somebody in the chat has a better reason, because honestly, Serena Ray and I didn't have like a great explanation for it. Like, for the most part, we have arguments for the other ones. But this one was like one of those ones where it's like, yeah, we don't have much.
That's the only thing where I would see the reason why they did not make her a princess. Because she does, like, she checks off boxes. She really does. She was the original princess of the game.
Yeah.
Sugar Rush. So.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's kind of weird, but then it's not. But they also poked fun at it in, Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah.
So that's cool too.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Have we talked about Jane? Growing up, I thought she was a princess. Oh, here we go.
I knew that was coming too.
I have a whole list, you guys, of all the unofficial princesses that we thought we were going to hear. So we have Jane on there. Jane's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I would argue that Jane is not of royal. She's not born royal. She doesn't really perform a significant act of heroism. I guess you could argue she's queen of the jungle.
Yeah.
Do you want to argue that, though? Because, come on, guys. Like, there's a difference between being an actual leader of, like, a country, a kingdom, like our girl, Princess Mia Thermopolis. Like, she got a whole country she had to run. Not saying that she's part of the lineup, but, she was Princess of Genovia. Jane and Tarzan are in the middle of the jungle. I don't really think they're having like laws that they're putting into place. You know what I mean? Like they're
They
not
might
like
have laws.
They might, but I mean, are you going to argue that? Are you going to argue that they're?
It was like, wait, no, let's not do this.
You know,
It's very like murky. You got to realize too. They would be governing over animals and not people, like the other princesses. It kind of gets a little weird when you think about that. And really, Tarzan is the main character, yes, and she is in the movie just as much as he is. But yeah,
yeah.
she's not a princess. She's just the main character that I feel like people just grouped as, assuming she would be a princess.
Again, assuming. And I see that little, like, because she's, with the king of the jungle. But again, I think that's where we get into that weird area where I think it's different done with people that are going to be following your rules and following by your example versus you're in the jungle where, I don't think Tarzan's going to be setting forth any laws that need to be, I don't think I think they're two completely different things. And that is why that's why she's not included. It gets into a weird, murky area. Wizard said Jane also looks too much like Belle and also just like Meg, Tarzan, aka the lead character, is more popular and overshadows her. Yeah, we're not really concerned about the overshadowing part because again, she can still be a primary role. She doesn't have to be the lead. But she does look very much like Belle. I don't think that makes it so she can't be a part of it. I did a video like a couple days ago. Thanks, Brian, for putting it in there. 5 fast facts about Tarzan. And yeah, a lot of people actually, there's a huge theory that Belle is Jane's great-great-grandmother. And when you put them side by side, they look very similar, like very, very similar. And then they both have the yellow gowns. They're both very knowledgeable. They both have eccentric dads that are a little kooky, a little weird. And they both have this like strange attraction to like wild men. And what the real key part of that is if you guys want to go back and watch Tarzan in the song Trashing the Camp with Turk and Tantor, you can see Mrs. Potts and Chip. And Turk actually plays on them. So obviously Jane is in possession of Mrs. Potts and Chip, which has tied them together. That is like some sort of family heirloom that's been passed on from Belle to Jane. Which, sorry, that's a little tangent, but that might be some fun information for you guys that you didn't know of. But yeah, I think it just comes down to what Serena Ray said. And I think that's it. I think that's really all we need to do in terms of touching on Jane, unfortunately. I love Jane. I think she's great. I thought she was cool when I was a kid, but I don't think she constitutes as an official Disney princess. Sorry. The last one I think we want to touch on is Giselle from Enchanted, and hopefully that'll be the last one. If you guys bring someone else, then we'll talk about it. But Giselle, again, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Giselle was a human. You can argue, yes, she is animated in points. I haven't seen Enchanted in a really long time. Don't come for me. But Serena Ray was kind enough to remind me that she has moments where she is animated. But I read something yesterday that the reason why they never made Giselle an official Disney princess was that they had to pay royalties to Amy Adams. So if that's true, then they're obviously going to not add her as a part of the lineup. They don't want to lose out on any money. Serena Ray, what do you say? Chat, what do you say? What do you think?
I'm going to say, too, you can make the argument of it's like Princess Leia. It's they're always like, they're in like human form, like not character form. Both are, characters. Come on, guys. But they're not digitized or anything like that. Yes, Giselle goes back and forth. But how are they going to keep finding someone that looks just like Amy Adams? It's going to get it's like a fine line. So once you make them a human in a movie, then people automatically going to relate it back to that human in the movie. So then it's going to be hard for them to put them in the theme parks as well or on cruise ship. So I think it's kind of in that murky area. And two, when you use a human, like an actor, or let's say that. I'm like, they're human. When you use that actor or actress face or likeness, you do have to pay them.
Yeah.
Like when you think of Pirates of the Caribbean, when you see Johnny Depp on shirts, he gets some type of royalty because you got him on a shirt. So I think that's really the main reason why you're not seeing these actors or actresses like put on like shirts and being thrown and like shoved like heavy hardcore princess stuff, because you have to pay that person, opposed to their cartoon where they're just using the person's voice. Like on merchandise, the merchandise isn't really talking if you have it on a t-shirt or a lunch
Yeah.
pail or backpack. So it's
Yeah.
about saving money too.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think? I know a lot of people really love Giselle, so I think it's one of the, and they're making another one. I think it's called Disenchanted or something like that. They're gonna make another one, and apparently everyone's already signed on. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think Giselle got the short end of the stick? Do you think she should be a part of it?
Well, wait. Ari said Tiana was a frog for most of the time, but she married him in human form. She married her prince in human form, though.
Yeah.
So that's the loophole. She was a frog for most of the time, but she married him in human form.
Yeah. But but she's always been a human though. She just got transformed into a frog. Like it's not that she was a frog. Yeah, like Nala is a lion. She wasn't turned into a lion. She's always been a lion, you know. Let's see. I'm so excited for the sequel. I need more on-screen time of them together. I need to go back and watch it again because I remember I really enjoyed Enchanted, and it just wasn't one of those movies I kept going back to watch. I do it too much with like a Goofy movie and Atlantis. I always watch like over and over again. And Toy Story I could throw on all the time. Okay, so I think that was all of the Disney princesses and the unofficial. If you guys think of someone else, you can more than welcome to throw it in the chat. But I think Serena Ray and I just wanted to end on a kind of just a really like an easy note, huh?
Giveaway.
Oh yeah, let me say the giveaway winner. The giveaway winner from this was the episode with Isaac Carlson, yes. And there were 2 steps to entering. So unfortunately, a lot of you guys didn't do the second part, so not a lot of people were entered. But the winner of that giveaway is Callista. I don't know if Callista is still in the chat. I don't think she is, but that is okay. I will go ahead and message her. But Callista, if you are here, I'm going to assume you're here. Just go ahead and DM me on Instagram, and then I'll get your address, and then I'll send over your little giveaway. And yeah, so we did our giveaway. But to end on a little nice note, we're going to talk about the different Disney princess eras. And we kind of just want to talk about your guys' opinion on which Disney princess you think withstands time, will always be just iconic, will always be looked at as like the epitome of Disney princess. You know, we have 3 particular eras. I don't know if you guys know this. It's kind of categorized in 3 different eras. Just like the movies. We did that last week, right? Serena Ray, where we broke up the movies. So same kind of thing with the Disney princesses. There's different eras that they're classified in. So we have the classic era, which is Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, and Cinderella. Then we have the Renaissance. We have Belle. We have Ariel. We have Pocahontas. We have Jasmine. And we have Mulan. And then we have the modern era, and that we have Tiana, Rapunzel, Merida, and Moana. I believe that's it for that era. And I guess you kind of want to argue Raya, maybe. But so we have those different eras, and in those eras, those princesses are so different from each other, but very similar also in the era that they were. Like if you looked at each of the princesses in the era, like comparing Cinderella to like Sleeping Beauty, there's a lot of similarities there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? A lot of ties to each other. And whereas if you took Cinderella and compared her to Moana, strikingly different. You could find commonalities within them, like they're sweet, they're kind, you know, but they're very different from each other. So we kind of want to know from you guys from the chat, and also I'm going to pass it to Serena Ray. Which Disney princess do you think is the most relatable, and do you think she can withstand, the test of time, where she's always going to be somebody that anybody can look to? Her story really resonates, stuff like that.
Okay, so from the official list. Oh my goodness, guys, this is hard. Can I just pick an error? No, I'm not going to be difficult. I think not Pocahontas. I'm sorry, Pocahontas, not Mulan. This is how I'm going to go through it. The classic, no. I don't think the classic should even be in there. I'm leaning more towards the newer princesses, though.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'll say Tiana, because it's based off of her personality of being hardworking. They showed her throughout the movie being very determined, very driven, and she's super hardworking, and she stayed focused on her goals and everything in that aspect. So I'm gonna have to go with Tiana, even though I like so many other princesses. Well, it can go like for Belle too.
Yeah, I think Belle too.
Belle is really one of those princesses that you can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. She is smart. She stands up for herself. She goes on that adventure to go find her father. She was brave, all those things. So Belle too. So it's between Tiana and Belle, in my opinion.
So the question, just so Jill knows, and anybody else who missed it, the question was, which Disney princess do you think will withstand the test of time? So will always be like relatable. People are always going to be able to reflect back to them. No matter how much time goes on, they're still going to be like relevant. Right? Ryan says Mulan. To be honest, it's not that there's so many important lessons in Mulan, and Mulan is such a great character to look up to. I just don't think Mulan has that all-around relatability factor because of the fact that she saves China. Like, I think it's just so, unless you're out there saving a country, like, don't get me wrong, she has parts of her that are really relatable. Like, for instance, she wants to make her family proud, which I totally, that message resonates with me so hard. Like, just want to make your parents proud. You want them to smile at you and look at you with those eyes of like, wow, this is my child and they're doing so well. They're so successful. I totally, everything about her, in that aspect. But I think if we boil it down, like which movie really is, has
it's about, can kids relate back to Mulan though? Are those kids are like, because kids like, that's how I'm thinking about it, at least.
Yeah.
That's how I'm thinking about it, because it is a lot of fighting scenes in it and training and her doing that. And I think that can get lost in translation for people to relate back to her, because then it turns into like an action movie and they're missing some of the key points.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I didn't pick Mulan.
Yeah. Yeah. Princess K said, I was going to say Tiana too, but I also think Mulan, she risked her life for her family and saved an entire country. Yes, we are not saying that is not accurate. That is so true. But I think, I don't know how to describe it any better than just like, I don't think she has the all around relatability factor that you can like see your own life in, if that makes sense. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at Jerry and Ryan. Oh. Jerry says, that sounds so funny, unless you're out here saving a country. And then Ryan follows up with, yeah, not so relatable unless you're saving China.
Oh my God, you two are hilarious.
Mulan is actually my favorite. Mulan and Pocahontas are my favorite.
Yeah.
I just don't think other people will relate to her like in the future, like that much, because they're gonna get caught up in the action of it. It's like when you watch if you watch an action movie, you kind of forget about like the sentimental parts and the loving parts, which that's why I think Mulan is good, because like I see little boys watching it too, and they can like watch it and not say like, ew, like we don't want to watch princesses. You know how like sometimes boys can be like so silly and say, "Oh, it's a princess."
Yeah.
They can watch Mulan and relate, but
Yeah.
they're also watching for the action. Once the
Yeah.
action comes on, like your brain automatically misses those like heartwarming parts.
Yeah. And Ricky, I just want to touch on, he says, what's wrong with the classic princesses era? There's nothing wrong with it. I love, you know what? If it wasn't for, and I'll say this, she's not my favorite, but if it wasn't for Snow White, would we even have Disney movies to begin with? And B, would we even have Disney princesses? You know, Snow White is the reason we are here. Like, you know what I mean? That movie set the tone for Disney animation, and it gave us a whole opportunity to make more Disney princesses. So there's nothing wrong with the classic princess era. Again, I like the girly princesses, as well as the more, I guess you could say, what, like more rowdy, I don't know, Disney princesses, a little bit get down and dirty, you know, like Mulan, she's like training and stuff, she's not afraid to sweat, like that kind of thing. I just don't think the classic princess era, I don't think any of those princesses are going to stand the test of time unless Disney's pushing it. Then I think they'll always, you know what I'm saying, Serena Ray? Like, if Disney's pushing them, absolutely. But I don't think on their own they would just continue on and everyone would gravitate towards them. I honestly don't find any of those three relatable. Like, I don't think Snow White's all that relatable. I don't think Cinderella is all that relatable. I don't think Sleeping Beauty is all that relatable. Are they to a certain extent? Yes. Do I like to sleep all day long? Hell yes, I do. Am I kind, sweet, and I talk to animals? Okay. And Snow White? What does Snow White do? Am I nice to strangers?
Lost in a forest.
Do I get lost in forests? And do I, do I maybe trust strangers too much? Yes, absolutely. I actually am guilty of doing that. So there's relatable factors with the Disney princesses in the classic era. I just don't think they would stand the test of time, you know? And also, that's a dangerous lesson. Trust strangers. Like, no, you don't just trust anybody.
The time it came out, it was relatable for that era, for sure, for that time period. I just don't. I don't relate to any of the three.
Yeah, it's not. And again, we love it. It's because of them that we are where we are with them. But I just don't think they're going to withstand the test of time. I think for me, Marina Ray and I look so bad because they're both like our mascots for the channel. But like, I think Belle and Tiana really are the two that like withstand the test of time, because Tiana is a hardworking woman. She is literally, she teaches you that, you see the suffering, you see the up and down, you see her busting her butt. She's like, I want to make this happen. And that's reality, baby. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, not everything is like given to you. Unfortunately, like, things happen to us in life that kick us when we're down, and it's like, she just kept fighting back, and she was like, I'm not going to stop until, and I think that's the message. For whether you want to be a teacher, whether you want to open up your own business, whether you want to be a content creator, I think that lesson resonates not just with kids, but I think that message, like, I can be whatever I want to be, right? From a kid's perspective, but from an adult perspective, wow, has Tiana really resonated with me within the last 5 years? Like, this is why she's one of my favorites, because I'm like, I see Tiana struggle and her passion and her hard work, and I get that. I don't want to use this word, but like, adulting. Yes.
Just like, people relate to that character just way, way more. And don't get me wrong, the reason why I like to call them the big three: Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White. Yeah. Why they will always be there is because they're the foundation for the princesses. They were the blueprint, the starting point. But when you think of the stories, I don't think in another 20 years, a little girl is going to say, I want to take an apple from an ugly old lady in the forest. Mm-hmm. We are like now taught, do not take food from strangers. or like kids aren't like roaming the forest, or oh my goodness, Cinderella. Well, who knows? People can be mean, so we're gonna skip Cinderella. No one's like touching. No one's getting cursed by Maleficent like right now.
And also to add what you said to what you're saying, those movies I don't think were really supposed to be realistic. It was supposed to
teach a lesson.
Yeah, it was supposed to be fantasy. That's what it was. It was a story. It was a story. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for? It was a fairy tale, which they all are to a certain extent. But I think those were the epitome of fairy tales.
And Ryan, yes, Cinderella works hard, but she's not making no money. She's like, Cinderella's a slave.
Yeah, Cinderella's like a slave.
Cinderella is a slave in that house. So it is completely different. You cannot relate her to Tiana. Yeah. Tiana is going to work, working all those crazy shifts, and she's like being happy while doing it. And she's like going home, going to sleep, hurry up, rechange, and doing all that stuff. Like, people can relate to that now, because when you're working towards your dreams, you're like, oh, I'm not getting any sleep. You're still like being nice and kind and amazing. You're doing all these things. Cinderella was a slave, you guys. She was a slave. She was mistreated.
Doom Buggy. I know that these are legendary characters. We know that. But I don't think they're going to withstand the test of time. That's going to be my phrase, the test of time. I just don't think, unless Disney's pushing them, which they are, because they're clumped with all the other Disney princesses, I don't think they're going to withstand that test of time. Now, I talked about Tiana, but I want to talk about Belle, because y'all know how I feel about Belle. Okay. Now, take out the element that Belle meets a beast. Yes, I understand that's not relatable. That's not real. That's crazy. Okay. But Belle, not only is she the type that she walks to the beat of her own drum. That is the best way to put Belle. She's very educated. She's very knowledgeable. You know, she makes sure that she's informed about things around her. And I think that's something that everyone can relate to. She pushes the envelope in her town where they think she's strange because she does that, but she does it anyways. And she's like, I don't understand what the problem is. Like, I'm just out here trying to be educated, and you guys are, I don't know, really put off by it for some reason. So I think there's a relatability factor there. And I also think with Belle, not only trying to, like, you know, save her parents, I think we all have that soft spot for a guardian or a parent of ours that we would do anything for. We would risk anything for them. So there's that where she doesn't know what's going to happen to her, but she goes, hey, take my spot, you know, take me instead of him. You know, there's that element, which is relatable, I think. And then there's the part that I think is the most important about Belle, which is that she doesn't judge a book by its cover. And I cannot stress how much I love that message. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's because I was picked on when I was a kid, not to get like all like sad and everything, but like, I always kind of felt like people were judging me because of the way that I dressed or the way that I looked. I had a little, you know, moment where I was dressing really, because I was into sports and I was into basketball. So I would come to school and, like, you know, my little NJB shirt and my basketball shorts. And I just remember, like, always feeling left out, always feeling like I was weird. And I never felt good. And I felt it was always just because I was judged by the way that I looked, you know? And so I think that's why it hit so hard for me, is because Belle, you know, initially she's scared of him. You know, how can she not? I think a lot of that comes from her just being apart from her dad now. You know, she's like, oh my God, I'm not going to see my dad ever again. But, like, she truly looks past that. And she goes, wow, there's a real person in there. There's a heart in there. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that's a message that's going to resonate till the end of time with any child, especially a child that's been picked on for, like, the way they look. What do you think, Serena Ray?
I agree. And then Belle, I'm going to add this. Belle made it cool to be a nerd.
Yeah.
I will say that, because I was the biggest nerd. I mean, like, I was up here. Like, normal people are here. Like, I was up here. Like, I had all the chapter books. Like, I was the person who chose books over watching TV. I also liked video games a lot. So, yeah, headphones, of course. But she made it cool to be a nerd. And I like that. And it was cool to read. And she dressed how she wanted to dress. She didn't dress like the other women in the film. She said no. I like that she would say, no. She stood up for herself. She was not afraid. And I think that was like the main message on why I think that will stand the test of time. Being able to have your own voice, you speaking up for yourself, and doing things that you like. She didn't stop reading when people would just always say her nose is in a book. She genuinely liked to read. So that's what she did.
Yeah.
No one made her like change who she was. So that's why I like Belle. I like Belle more now.
Like, take a moment, guys. I think if you all sat there for a couple minutes and you reflected and you thought about something that you liked or you did or you wore that people made fun of you about, you know,
oh my
and
goodness.
how you felt you needed to change that because they picked on you for it. That's why I think Belle is so important and pivotal, because she shows doesn't matter if they make fun of you, you're going to keep being yourself.
I have to find the picture of me from school. It's tragic. It was tragic. First of all, I'm mad at my parents because we had to wear uniforms to school, but I was like, you guys let me wear my pants that high?
Okay, we all have tragic kid pictures.
And then
now we're questioning. There is such a thing as questionable fashion choices. So yes, maybe, sometimes we didn't always pick the greatest things to wear, but also, I mean, we shouldn't really be picked on for that, though, I would say. Just because
I was picked on for my curly hair. I was like picked on so much until I flat ironed my hair, guys. It was one of those. People would just say like, why do you wear your hair like in plaits all the time, or like pigtails? Like, you should wear your hair like this. I was peer pressured into flat ironing my hair.
That's weird.
It was like, kids are so cruel.
You have gorgeous hair. They're crazy.
I was picked on for that for a long time.
Stupid. Mickey said, honestly, that's probably why Belle is my favorite, because I'm rather different than a lot of kids at school and I'm pretty big nerd and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to get like sad about it, but like, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with me. I had a lot of moments where I was picked on. I had like a friend group kick me out of the friend group. Just like really mean stuff that like kids shouldn't go through, in my opinion. Ari,
I want to time Jerry out so bad.
Who was it? Give me names. Thank you. Yeah. You guys, I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all.
Did you see what he wrote?
No. What did he say?
He wrote that just for you.
What did he write?
I got picked on for being able to paint with all the colors.
Jerry, and you're causing problems.
Jerry, I can't protect you here, okay? You already got timed out with you yesterday.
Oh, Jerry. No, Jerry. See, this is why we need Jerry around. See how it was a sad mood, and then Jerry picked it up. This is why Jerry's here.
I can't stand him. I just can't stand you, Jerry. At this point, oh my gosh, I'm like crying, laughing.
Yeah.
Wow, Jerry. Wow, I just can't. You got picked on for liking princesses?
Oh, that's weird. I feel like Disney princesses are so cool. I've been about Disney princesses my whole life. Just been dressing up. Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. Alexa.
He always gets in trouble. It's okay, Jerry. You're still my bestie. I just can't, though. You just can't have me laughing like this hard on the podcast. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Callista, by the way, you won. I don't know if anyone told you yet in the chat. You won the giveaway.
They were going crazy telling her.
Yeah. But no, you guys, you know what? It's just one of those things where we all have things that happen to us in our lives. And I was just trying to put it so that maybe you guys can relate and understand why I think Belle was so important in that we all, get bullied about things and it's not right, but we don't need to change ourselves to fit in. And that's what I like about her, is that she didn't change who she was just so people would stop talking, But anyways, I think we're kind of done. Serena Ray, is there anything else you want to mention or talk about?
No, we did good today. I think next week we are talking about Frozen.
Yes, next week we're talking all about Frozen, because I think we definitely kind of like sweep them under the rug today. We just kind of barely touched on them, but we need to talk about we call it the Frozen phenomenon. Frozen took over the world multiple times, so we need to talk about it. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, why Frozen did so well, why Frozen 2 did well, all of that. So that's next week's episode on Serena Ray's channel.
You guys are gonna see my figurines out. I'll bring Anna, Elsa, and Olaf out for you guys.
Yes. I have my poster up, so
I know,
ready to go.
She already has her poster.
But yeah, Serena Ray, do you have anything going on tomorrow that you want to plug really quick?
For tomorrow, oh my goodness, how can I not even remember where I'm going tomorrow? I'm going to Animal Kingdom Lodge, and I'm going to be doing a resort tour. So you guys are going to be able to see this DVC resort. And it's nice because they have Jumbo House and Kandani, and they have savannah rooms, and that is the rooms that face this pretty savannah, and the animals walk around. So you can see giraffes and wildebeests and all kinds of animals from the comfort of your room. So that is a very fun thing, and one of my favorite things about Animal Kingdom Lodge at Walt Disney World. They also have amazing food. It is very close to Animal Kingdom. So that is what I'm doing tomorrow, but I don't have anything else to say. Just that.
Yeah, this Saturday we're going to be doing trivia again, but it's going to be on my channel. So come at 6 p.m. We're going to hang out again. Maybe we'll just do a major hangout. Who knows? Maybe we won't do trivia. Maybe we'll just sit, eat some snacks, talk to each other, just have open forum chat. So that's going to be, 6 p.m. my time, which is PST, 9 p.m. EST. And what else? Oh, I have a Lion King movie. I have a Lion King video coming out this week about the Lion King lineage. Gonna kind of go through all the kings of the past and all that. So be on the lookout for that one. And other than that, I think, it's going to be an interesting video. I asked the chat, or not the chat, the community tab. I polled it, and that was the top video that you guys wanted to see. So that's going to be coming out in a couple days. I'll probably finish it maybe by tomorrow night. We'll see. Those take a long time to kind of research. But anyways, thank you guys so much for being here tonight with us. This was a great conversation. I think this was just as good as the villain conversation, if not better.
Really good.
Yeah, and we love hearing from you guys as well. So hopefully we'll see you together again on Saturday. But other than that, thank you so much for being here, and we will see you.
Oh, I'm actually wearing my shirt.
Look at that! Oh my gosh, that looks awesome.
So I had to wear if theme park, Darrell, if you're still here. I wore my shirt today. You made us a nice podcast shirt.
So cute.
I'm gonna try to wear it every time because I think it's so adorable. I love the little hidden Mickey, but I had to show you guys that. So
cute. Love it. Love it.
Now we can leave.
Yeah.
You guys can enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, everyone. We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.